I'm here today with Energy Minister Malcolm Wicks. I'm, of course, Tony Lloyd, Member of Parliament for Manchester Central, and it's my opportunity to put to Malcolm, on behalf of my constituents, questions about Britain's energy future. And the first question, Malcolm, that I want to address is one that concerns, I think, many people in this country, but particularly people in poorer households, which is about energy security. We know that by 2020 that Britain will be dependent for some 80% of its gas for imports. We know that our road transport system depends on oil from essentially the Middle East. What that does mean is that if nothing changes, we're dependent on fairly unstable regimes or unreliable economic partners. How can you assure my constituents that the energy will be there, that the fires will be on when they need it, that the buses and the cars will move when we need that kind of travel into that future?
Tony, you're right to highlight this. I think alongside global warming and climate change, energy security is a critical issue at a time when two things are happening in Britain, both worrying really. One is our oil and gas from the North Sea is in decline. There's still a lot there, but it's going down now by about 8% every year. And secondly, of course, the nuclear energy we have, the electricity from our nuclear reactors, is also in decline because those nuclear reactors are old, built some time ago, and the electricity is now, as I say, decreasing. So what do we do about it? I think two things. Yes, in the future we will need to import lots of oil and gas and coal, incidentally, from foreign countries. We need to be smart about that. We shouldn't just source it from one region or one country. We've got to get it in via different pipelines and also via boats with liquefied natural gas. But I think this is the crunch. I want to see us produce more what I would call homegrown energy in the future. Energy we can produce ourselves here on land or just offshore. That means more renewables. I think it also means more nuclear in the future, and the government has recently decided, on grounds of energy security, and therefore I would say national security, that we should say yes to nuclear in the future. So we need to be have a mix. We need to be smart about how we source our energy.
Well, you're absolutely right to say that energy security is actually, in this sense, it's one of the issues around which national security will be based. But as you know, a constituency like mine, the centre of Manchester, is a relatively poor constituency. Household incomes are not enormous. People have seen recently that the market system can throw fairly major increases in the cost of energy. As we look towards the future, can we give comfort to people, first of all, that energy costs can be kept down and affordable, because security matters, but affordability is also part of that equation, and of course that the types of gains that have come under a Labour government, the winter fuel allowance for example, that these will properly keep pace with the increase in energy costs.
Well, you're right to talk really about the worries about rising energy costs. I know they're rising, they're affecting my constituents and yours. I think the issues about making sure we get adequate supply of energy in the future is part of the answer here. We're now beginning to get lots of our gas, for example, from Norway, so that helps guarantee supply. But as prices do rise, and I can't say they're going to come tumbling down, there's a huge global demand for energy from the Chinese, the Indians, as their economies grow. What we've got to do, I think, is two things. One is to make sure our homes become even more energy efficient. And we've got a number of programs, as you know, to help with loft insulation, better heating systems, often for the most vulnerable. We've helped 2 million people across the whole country, several thousand of your constituents. That's important. And then through social security measures like winter fuel payments, we've got to make sure that people have the incomes to afford energy prices. Now, as they say, that's a matter for the Chancellor of the Exchequer, not for me, but I'm sure he's very mindful of these issues as costs rise in terms of energy.
I can't believe the Chancellor won't be listening to your every word, Malcolm, on this, but you're right as well. You make the point about energy conservation measures, and we know that both in terms of providing affordability of energy costs, but also in terms of the whole debate about global warming, that conservation is probably the quickest and most efficient way of making a real impact on greenhouse gases.
Well, the cheapest energy, after all, is the energy we don't use. Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
And all of us are guilty, at least I am. We keep the lights on. We probably haven't checked whether our loft is insulated well enough. So there are things we can do which actually in a small way help global warming, but actually help the wallet and the purse as well.
But can I understand specifically, because again, groups, this government has gone a long way to making assistance available to people who need assistance with conservation measures, but obviously sometimes those are the people who find it most difficult to know even how to access these schemes. But the other, I suppose, general concern is that different government departments are not yet totally joined up in the same battle. Now, can I have your commitment from the Energy Minister side of things, that working with, for example, our colleagues in housing, our colleagues in different parts of the government process, that we'll have that joined up approach that guarantees that conservation becomes maybe the prime weapon in the fight against global warming?
Yeah, we're working very hard at this. I mean, inevitably there are different government departments involved. But for example, I meet with Hilary Benn, the Environment Secretary. I'm seeing him later this week. I'm meeting Mike O'Brien, who's the Pensions Minister, to make sure that we get into a better place in terms of this. There are issues actually about data protection. People don't want all their records being spread across government. But I'm working with other ministers to see how we can target the most vulnerable. And often people are very proud and maybe suspicious about asking for help. Let's find sensitive ways of saying to them, look, help is available, and this will make sense for you if we can come into your home and make it more energy efficient. So we're working very hard at this, Tony. It's absolutely a critical issue.
Malcolm, thank you very much on behalf of my constituents. I think you do know that this debate will continue. You'll be a major part of that, and I think people will be very keen to hear what you've said. No doubt they'll be coming back to me and making sure I continue to press you for answers to questions that we can't even
Rightly so,
imagine.
Tony. Thank you very much indeed.